So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about campaigning. So campaigning can be really intimidating to some people. I know when I first ran for office, some of the things that intimidated me was needing to raise a lot of money to run a campaign. Speaking in front of large groups of people that knew nothing about me. Uh, Knocking on doors initially was very intimidating, although I kind of fell in love with it and became very comfortable with it after I got my feet wet a little bit. But there's many elements of campaigning that can be intimidating. I know when I ran for mayor, I had 4 public debates, and I had a lot of anxiety about those. So I'm curious, maybe we'll start with Eric John this time. So tell us a little bit about your experience campaigning. What have you loved about it? And maybe also what's been the most challenging for you?
So campaigns in COVID times, I'm sure look a lot different. When I ran in 2016 for the school board, I really loved being able to knock on doors and talk to folks, even folks that didn't have kids in the schools anymore. When I would tell them about the importance of engaging the next generation in that decision-making process, a lot of times they'd get it, and a lot of times they'd hear you out and they'd share what they know about the school district or their perception, and it's just things that you add to your repertoire of what might come up at the doors and what might I need to address once I'm in office. So I really like the door knocking part. Um, in COVID season, it's more challenging for sure because we want to be respectful of the public health of all of our constituents. And so I've seen campaigns do it a little differently about who's going out and knocking doors. I know a lot of campaigns are doing um, contactless literature drops. And so my campaign, we just got a bunch more of these door hangers uh, to be able to share our message with voters in a way where you don't need to do face to face. Now, I still like that, but because of the health pandemic, we're trying to connect in different ways. So we're running a lot more Facebook ads than I think we would normally, and trying to connect with voters like through the mail, especially the ones that are getting their absentee ballots here in a couple of weeks. So we've got mailers that are going out, which all these things make a great campaign already. But it hurts my heart a little bit to know we can't do door knocking as much or to the same extent. When we are going out, we're wearing masks and trying to keep away from folks' personal belongings just so they feel secure. Um, but we still want to get that feedback from our constituents. So I'm trying a lot more stuff on Facebook. I got a killer website. That took a while to put together, but it's Eric John 4, the number 4, clerk.com. And I think it's pretty good. So um, we're trying to navigate this in the digital world as well. So it's a little different, but it's a unique challenge, and we still found ways to connect with voters. Um, even sharing something like this or pieces of this, so folks can see what are your priorities when you're running for office. So it's some virtual town halls instead of um, just a purely door knocking campaign.
Well, I just wrote down your website, and so I will go and check it out. And you're right, the campaigns have changed over the years. First time I ran for office, social media didn't really exist at all. And then last year when I ran for my reelection for mayor, you have to plan a very different campaign in the era of social media. And it's pretty amazing what you can do with social media. And both of you probably know this around targeting, and it's just it's a very, very different way to campaign than I would say even 10 years ago. So.
Yes, one more thing I wanted to add. I forgot until you mentioned what campaigns used to look like. Is in 2008, the Barack Obama election or candidacy, that was the first real campaign to use text communication widely, and it changed the game. And so I did not do that in 2016, but I'm working now with a program or a service called Hustle to do that, because it works really well for get out the vote efforts. And so we're trying to connect and using this to make sure that our voters are showing up on election day. So for Katherine or Rosalynn, whenever you're running for anything else, maybe you consider texting as part of your campaign and get out the vote efforts.
Yeah, I'm sure I will if I ever run for anything again. How about you, Catherine? How's it been campaigning? So you said you did a write-in, and maybe you can even share a little bit about how that was. That's a heavy lift, you know. So fill us in on what have you really loved about it? What's been most challenging?
Yeah, so the election in August was my first election ever, and yeah, I was a write-in. So that was very interesting. That was my first foray into politics. So yeah, using Facebook was huge. And tapping into like the Facebook groups that already exist. There are so many Facebook groups that connect Allendale residents, which I had no idea about until I was introduced over the summer. So tapping into those networks that already exist was huge for me, because then I could kind of meet new people that way, and see what already is there and what people are interested in, because I know what GB students are interested in, through Student Senate and their platform, but then what Allendale residents are interested in as well, and then figuring out what they both want, where the overlap is. So I did flyers, and I did the no contact delivery. So I just put them on people's doors. So I've never done the door knocking. It sounds really fun. I would love to do it. I love meeting new people and hearing what they're interested in. That's like my favorite thing. So I'll have to run again, just a door knock. No, just kidding. But yeah, learning how to use Facebook and Facebook ads, and then putting together a website. That was my first time trying to put together a website. Yes, you got the link already in the chat. But that was fun. I liked it. And then I can really use my stats background as well, trying to figure out like how can I be most efficient, with targeting specific demographics and using Facebook targeting, and how to like plan out my campaign, and figuring out how many votes I need, stuff like that. So I really like that I can bring my stats background and then my public and nonprofit background, into kind of how local politics works and what people look for, in their local official. One of the challenges I would say is just trying to connect, because it's different through a screen, and trying to introduce myself just comes across a little bit different when it's through Facebook and through written word. It's not as much like talking with conversation that way, which is very, very difficult. So, and then not having GV students on campus as much is different as well, because they're less involved when they're doing classes online, even though COVID is hopefully a temporary thing, and then we're still going to have, it's a 4-year term. So we really want to make sure that people remember to vote, who are going to be living here throughout the next 4 years. So voter turnout is really, really important. So I've been trying to concentrate on that. And using the texting, I discovered that was, I did that a few weeks ago. I used Text Out, through the Michigan Democrat website. They helped me set that up. That was fun. Getting into van data, all that fun stuff. No, I actually really enjoyed it. It was cool just being able to text people and being able to connect that way. So I'm definitely gonna do that again.